I am on a mission to help people be more at peace. Not when life is perfect, but instead when life seems to be one big dumpster fire that keeps on giving. Because let's be honest, right now life is anything but perfect. People are feeling overwhelmed by the amount of chaos and turmoil in the world. People are feeling burnt out by the amount of division and in some cases violence that we're seeing play out. And people are struggling to keep up with the rapid pace of change, especially when it comes to AI. And so you may be thinking, Colleen, how can I possibly be at peace? There is just so much swirl and noise all around me. And the answer is you can be at peace. However, it takes work. The majority of us cannot take a trip to Tibet and meditate for 18 hours a day with monks. I have to say, though, it seems appealing right now, but we have our everyday lives to contend with. And when I think about over the past 10 years listening to coaching clients as a career and executive advisor, as well as listening to employees as an HR professional, there are three categories where I found it really causes people to be in a state of stress, specifically work, relationships, and internal state. Starting with work, it is important if you're feeling a lot of disconnect with your career to think about congruency. Are you doing work that is aligned with who you truly are? I've been highly influenced by the work of Parker Palmer, who is a strong advocate of living an undivided life versus a divided life. And I'll share more about his work. This book that I'm holding up, Let Your Life Speak, is one of my favorite. I've read it many times. And Parker Palmer, who is an educator, an activist, an author, talks about his own experience of pursuing a PhD at Berkeley in sociology and thinking that he was going to work in academia. And he realized he was not meant to be a scholar. He did not particularly thrive in academia. And so he went and spent 10 years living with Quakers. And I share this story because Parker Palmer emphasizes the importance of understanding who you truly are, where your gifts lie, and what is trying to be expressed within you. And he also stresses the importance of understanding your limitations. And I don't think we talk about the latter enough. We have these grand notions of you can be anything, you can do anything. Well, to a certain extent, I think instead it's really important to understand what comes naturally to me. And there's a quote I love from Parker Palmer that I will share with you, which states the following: vocation does not come from a voice out there calling me to become something I am not. It comes from a voice in here calling me to be the person I was born to be. And think about what it takes to really understand that voice within. It takes self-reflection. It takes time in silence. It takes courage to really be honest, as I said earlier, with yourself and where your gifts lie and where your limitations lie. It takes potentially a professional who can help you better understand who you truly are. And I'll share an example of a coaching client I worked with a number of years ago. I'll call her Jane, not her real name, but she came to me because she was experiencing a dark night of the soul, and she knew I had my own experience with a dark night. And what was happening with Jane is she went to law school did not like law school whatsoever, wanted to drop out. However, her father, a prominent attorney, said, Jane, don't worry, get through law school. You will love law. You'll be so good at it. Jane's father was projecting on her. He loved law. He lived and breathed law. Like it was everything to him, and he really excelled. However, for Jane, it was not at all her calling. However, when she completed law school, she joined a big law firm. She was experiencing panic attacks. She was depressed. And she was coming to me for guidance on what to do with her career. And I said to Jane, I know this sounds strange, but I see this enormous amount of creativity within you, and I see you doing something with your hands. Have you ever considered making something artistic? And she looked at me like, what? And I could see the wheels turning. She's thinking, I have student loans from law school. I'm making good money as an attorney. You want me to uproot my career and make a pivot as an artist? And it took some time. I think she really thought I was like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Fast forward, however, a year later, Jane quit her big law job and she started her own jewelry making business. Interestingly enough, Jane's anxiety subsided and her depression also dissipated. That was a situation where inside there was part of Jane that was calling her to express this creativity, to really honor her nature. And what she found with law is she didn't like all the detailed work. She didn't like being in court and having to be in front of people. She didn't like the conflict and the competition. Instead, she wanted to work at her own pace. She wanted to express what was calling forth in her. So for you, think about, are you being congruent with the work that you're doing? Are you living an undivided life? Because when I hear coaching clients tell me, well, Colleen, I show up at work as a completely different person from who I am outside of work. And I ask them, how do you feel at the end of the day? And they say, exhausted. I'm like, yeah, it takes a lot of energy to be someone that you are not. Next, I want to move on to relationships. And what I would say at a high level is the more that you can be in a state of acceptance over expectations, the more at peace you will be in relationships. Because when I think about the friction, and the angst that many of us, myself included, have experienced in relationships, it's often because we want people to be someone that they are not. And they may never be the person that we need them to be. What I would say is, after years and years of navigating a couple of challenging relationships myself, the work of Dr. Lindsay Gibson, a psychologist who specializes in emotionally immature people, has been truly life-changing, because Dr. Gibson emphasizes this. She said there are certain people who are stuck at a lower age than what they truly are. This was such an aha moment for me, because I realized there are individuals in my own life who may be in their 50s, their 60s, or 70s, and they were behaving as though they were teenagers. And I had such unrealistic expectations for these people. I want to share a quote that highlights the experience of dealing with emotionally immature people. This is from Dr. Gibson's work. Emotionally immature people are highly self-referential, meaning that in any interaction, all roads lead back to them. However, they aren't self-reflective. Their focus on themselves isn't about gaining insight or self-understanding. It's about being the center of attention. Does that resonate with any of you watching? This means you could be interacting with someone and you could share in a vulnerable state, I am going through such a hard time right now. The other person who's emotionally immature interrupts you and said, oh my goodness, you would not even believe what I am going through. I got a flat tire, and then my dog ran away, and then my toilet was clogged. The plumber had to come. There was flooding. And you're sitting here wondering, why did I just open up to this person? And what I would say in dealing with emotionally immature people, especially if it comes to parents or other family members, is there is this acceptance piece, but there's also profound grieving that occurs because, as Dr. Gibson shares, we can often have this healing fantasy of one day, my parent or my boss or this person in my life will suddenly be the person that I need and want. And the more you can just let go and understand that this person potentially could be stuck at a younger age, the more at peace you will be. Regardless if Dr. Gibson's work resonates with you, it's really important to face reality. Understand, are you an emotionally immature people? Understand, are you a difficult person? Understand what you can shift. But then also meet people where they are and determine whether or not you need to set boundaries in order to avoid being resentful. This can mean, there's certain people, maybe you enjoy spending time with them, but an hour could be your limit. Or if you're traveling to see parents or other family members, potentially 3 days could be your limit, and any additional time will just put you over the edge. So the key here is be realistic. And I'm going to emphasize this point over and over. See people for who they are. Do not expect them to change. They could change, but we need to just accept where they are right now on their own evolution. Next, I want to talk about our internal state. Over the years, I've worked with many different individuals who have really taught me the power of surrender. I have been on my own journey where I've tried to brute force my way through life. I've wanted results to happen. But it's interesting because the more I've learned about this balance of taking action versus being in the flow of life, the more at peace I have been. And also working with coaching clients who have been laid off has really been eye-opening because they have come to me after initial reaction of, Colleen, I can't believe what happened. I'm so upset about being laid off. But then they have realized what a gift the layoff has been, because they may not have had the courage to leave the job on their own. They may not have had the courage to go pursue their dreams. They may not have realized that by this door closing, there has been all these other career options that they have not considered. So when it comes to your internal state, I think it's really important to assess, where are you trying to force life versus be in the flow of life? Where are you trying to control life when you have to simply let go of control and know you have done everything possible to try to make things happen? And there may be a bigger divine plan in place that you are not aware of. And what I would say is when it comes to surrender and our internal state, it doesn't mean succumbing to hours and hours of watching Netflix every single day. Like occasionally, like I do it myself. Occasionally, like, yeah, absolutely. You spend the weekend watching Netflix or playing video games, whatever. I mean, there's all types of escapism that we may participate in occasionally, but it just doesn't mean that we give up and we think, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to surrender and just life will happen. It means that we are taking action. We are a co-active participant in our life, but we're not paddling upstream. I mean, think about that visual. Someone's in a canoe and they're like sweating, they're exerting all this effort. They're like, gosh, I'm trying so hard. Okay. Instead of taking a step back and allowing the current to help them, paying attention. Are you on the right path? Are you listening to the whispers or the loud screams in life? And I have to say, like, finding this balance of the action versus surrender brings a tremendous amount of peace. And finally, I want to end with an exercise that I think can be quite helpful in thinking about peace, which in some cases can be this abstract notion. Right? It's like, oh, just be present and you'll be at peace. Well, is that really helpful? Not for a lot of people. What I recommend is devising an anti-peace plan because it is important to understand what is detracting from peace. What are the things or people in your life that are causing you to be in this restless state? You're feeling a lot of friction. And so what I recommend is taking 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, longer if you can, but let's be honest, a lot of us, have quite a bit going on. But the more time that you can take to reflect, to ask yourself, am I doing work that's in alignment with who I am? Am I in relationships that are really nourishing my soul and they're supporting me? Am I in the flow of life? Or am I trying to force results that may not meant to be in my life plan? I want to thank you all for taking time to watch this video. What I would say is we need more people who are truly at peace with themselves and with a world that seems to be in a state of tremendous chaos right now. We need people who can hold space. We need people who are balanced. We need people who are calm. So if this video resonates with you, please comment below. I would love to know for you, what are those aspects of your anti-peace plan? And how are you going out into the world to spread more peace, whether it's in your community, whether it's in your country, the United States, wink, wink, or the broader world? I want to thank you for watching this video. I would love to have you a part of my YouTube community. Take care until next time.